Now we return to Britain and the pandemic. Special correspondent Malcolm Brabham has traveled to some of Europe's virus hotspots during the pandemic. He's covered northern Italy and demonstrations in Britain, Germany, and Poland. He has not been affected personally until now. As he explains from his home in Brighton in the south of England, he is in self-isolation with his wife Trina and son Lucas.
This is day one of self-isolation. I got an email from the National Health Service Track and Trace Service a few hours ago to say that I had to isolate myself until December the 23rd, and that's because my son has tested positive. He's upstairs at the top of the house right now, and my wife is also showing symptoms. We've got a small house, but hopefully we can compartmentalize it in such a way that both my wife and my son can stay out of my way.
So I think I contracted COVID last week at a studio that I was filming at for 2 days straight, 2 6-hour shoots. And with the amount of people there were at least 30 people in the room at once.
We got the results this morning. Lucas tested positive, I tested negative. I'm sure if I went now and had a test, it would be positive as well. I'm just feeling too sick to go out. I mean, the whole idea of having to get into a car and go to a test center, I just cannot do it. I'm so weak.
I'm in the kitchen right now. Everything's a bit of a mess. I have to say I've just come back from a trip to Poland and I'm making chicken soup, which hopefully will ease their sore throats.
I have a fever, I have quite a high fever, but it feels more like a flu. At this point, I don't have trouble breathing. I can breathe without any problems.
Lucas, put your mask on. Lucas is on the stairs.
It's been absolutely horrible. So, 1 hour I could be coughing my lungs up, the next just be sitting there in the hot and cold flashes. It's really annoying. There are so many things I had planned to do.
My biggest concern has been our son Lucas, because Lucas was born prematurely.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much. You've been hearing that voice. Even though he's today a tall and big and healthy guy, he still has scar tissue in his lungs, so he has very weak lungs. His lung capacity is not normal. So for him to catch COVID has been one of my worst nightmares.
I'm not saying it terrifies me, but with my health history, it is a fear that it could get a lot worse for me and it could go downhill very quickly. And I'm just hoping that if it stays the way it is right now, that I've gotten a very lucky escape.
What we don't know is which version of COVID Lucas has. Is it the original one, or is it the new mutation, which has got much of Europe into a panic and which has caused the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson to do yet another U-turn?
Given the early evidence we have on this new variant of the virus, the potential risk it poses, it is with a very heavy heart. I must tell you, we cannot continue with Christmas as planned.
My husband says I worry too much, but I do also worry about his health.
There's a good reason why I usually shoot myself in just head and shoulders. It's because I don't want people to see the size of my stomach. As you probably gathered, it's pretty big.
My husband is obese.
Therefore, I am at much greater risk than other folk. I am active, I ride a bike, I walk the dog, and filming actually sort of helps you keep reasonably fit. Nevertheless, I am vulnerable, so I really do have to try to protect myself.
My husband had, in 2011, a very, very severe reaction to another vaccine.
I have to stress that what happened to me 9 years ago was extremely rare and highly individual. It's a well-publicised case of a yellow fever vaccine, which every doctor who treated me said was responsible for causing psychosis. But this vaccine is totally different, the one that is hopefully going to cure this COVID thing. But I have to be wary about it at the moment, and for the time being I'm not going to take it. And that's as a result of advice from the British Regulatory Authority, the MHRA, which says that people who've had bad reactions in the past shouldn't take it.
We were looking at 2 case reports of allergic reactions. We know from the very
extensive clinical trials that this wasn't a feature, but if we need to strengthen our advice, we get that advice to the field immediately.
I need to explore this further. Despite everything that happened to me, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. And let's face it, we can't go on living like this. We have to get back to normal. So to reassure myself, I've been talking to a really good old friend of mine who I was at school with, who rose to be one of Britain's top psychiatric pharmacists. His name is Professor Stephen Bazier, and he's been explaining how this new vaccine works in an attempt to ease my fears.
I don't think having had that reaction makes any difference to this vaccine. The Pfizer vaccine is not an attenuated or killed live bacteria or virus. The route is to get your body to create part of it, which you then produce antibodies to, and then you become immune to the full-blown virus.
Day 6 of isolation. I am, of course, still very worried about my husband, but my main concern this morning is our son Lucas. Yesterday, Lucas's oxygen saturation started to drop into the lower 90s. That's not a good place to be for anyone, especially not someone with a lung condition. This morning, it's back up into the mid-90s, which is a better place to be, but I'm watching him like a hawk.
Well, it's been a bit of a lousy night. I haven't slept very much because I've been worrying about Lucas, but I'm relieved that his oxygen sats are improving, because otherwise we'd have had to send him to hospital. He's had a really lousy year, poor lad. I mean, we're into more than 270 days of lockdown. He's at Zoomiversity. He's a musician. And I have to say that the song he wrote in lockdown has never been more apposite.
So take my hands, take my heart, all the things that you tore apart, but I don't want to be alone unless it's with you.
Being in isolation is necessary, there is no doubt about it. We got to stop this virus, but it's driving me up the walls.
Day 7 of isolation. Fingers crossed, things are looking good. I haven't got any symptoms. Trina's improving. Lucas is certainly holding his own. We're one day closer to freedom. I don't know what we'll find when we get to the supermarkets, because there's been panic buying as a result of Britain being cut off from the rest of Europe. But as a family, we're not particularly bothered about Christmas. We've always thought that if we could survive 2020, that would be fantastic. And that has to remain our aim.
What a special story. That is our Malcolm Brabant reporting from his home, as you heard, on England's southern coast. Malcolm, please know that all of your colleagues here are thinking best thoughts for you, for Trina and Lucas, and I know so many of your admirers in our audience share our affection. Thank you for that, and please, all of you, get better.